While the coronavirus pandemic occasioned a lot of hardship globally, taking its toll on the poorest countries in the world, with no exception for Nigeria, the Nigerian government thought it wise to alleviate the sufferings of the poorest of the poor. The government announced on television, radio, and other channels of communication of palliatives set aside for each state across the country. However, days rolled into weeks rolled into months, and citizens could not come to terms with declaration by the federal government that almost all the households in Nigeria got food to eat. Within a short while, many had forgotten the claims of help rendered to citizens by the government. But what was unknown to those accused of hoarding was that they could not hide palliatives forever, as the various warehouses sheltering them were uncovered by citizens. The NSAS protest against police brutality in the last 2 weeks in various parts of the country, including the Federal Capital Territory, which resulted in loss of lives, took a different dimension after the Lekki shooting. Saw people who have been described in some quarters as hoodlums breaking into warehouses where COVID-19 palliatives were found. Reactions from citizens and other well-meaning Nigerians have since trailed this.
The youth should loot more. Even the protesters should loot more. Even in the Senate House, everywhere they can enter. It is allowed. It's their money they are collecting back. Because of the politicians have an advantage to loot officially. So the youth are looting unofficially, not from the office. So they are in the street protesting, and if you can park 20 cars in your house, to me, they can go and loot it too. When you loot, they loot 50-50, and they don't need to be arrested. Because if you are arresting them for looting that, you should also investigate the person that kept it in his house.
The leaders, some of these leaders, not all of them per se, but some of these leaders can really, be, you hoarding all these things meant for people. I don't know what you're hoarding for. Most of these things, in fact, some of the clips we saw online, if you notice, some of them have spoiled. So I don't know what's the motive behind all those things, but I think it's a really terrible one and a big mistake, because now you looted and hoarded these things, and now the people are coming back for it.
Some see these as a wake-up call to the government, as these youths that have been abandoned will someday rise up to hunt those at the helm of affairs.
If it was actually the palliatives, it's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. But to break into people's shop, it was not a good thing at all. But for palliatives, the government provided for the poor masses, and they lock it. Oh, I give kudos to those that break the warehouses, because it was meant for the populace, but it was locked up. Why? So I give kudos to those people that break the warehouses.
While the governors under the body of the Nigerian Governors Forum say the palliatives discovered by citizens were kept ahead of the second wave of the pandemic, others beg to differ.
Let us be realistic to ourselves. Those palliatives, are they even meant to be there up to this moment? Because since April, you can see so many people have died because of hunger. Why must you leave those things till this time before you distribute? And those things have a timeline to expire. It's uncalled for. It's not good at all.
Nigeria need prayer to change our leaders, because it is the leaders that is our problem.
While human rights activist and lawyer Femi Falana has asked the Nigerian government to tender an apology for hoarding items meant to be distributed to the vulnerable, the youth body urged Nigerian youth to forge a common front while finding solutions to the issues at hand, just as they called for a probe into why state government did not distribute palliatives meant for the masses.
And we have called for an investigation into the factors that made state governments to hoard the palliatives from the coalition against COVID-19, which was meant to be distributed to the masses of the country. We want to ensure that those behind this wicked act are brought to book. Whoever kept these items and deprived the citizens of this was definitely plotting, whether covertly or overtly, to ensure that the government fails and that the people suffer.
A cross-section of Nigerians see this discovery by citizens as further widening the gap of trust between the government and the people.